Hi folks, I want to run through updating the Bootstrap slider. Specifically, I'll show you how to add images, remove images, how to update the captions, like the text and the title and the description and the button, and also how to update these social icons. They sort of hover or they're part of the slider component right there. So let's get started. Oh, also the timing. So we can change the timing. So let's start off by opening up the library that's shared in the Bootstrap slider library file. I'm going to flip this over to code. And to change the timing of the slides, if you want to have sort of a manual timing where just the first image stays there until somebody pretty much clicks the next button, the default setting is right here. And it's like that's set to about 10 million milliseconds. If you wanted to have, say, a 5-second rotation period, it would be 5,000. So it's in milliseconds, so just add a 3 zeros to your whatever time you want in seconds, and that will change the timing of the slide. The next piece that we want to talk about is changing the images. So what we did here, we have a bit of a unique effect where we have the same image, one overlaid on top of the other, and we add a bit of what we call an overlay effect to the image that goes over top. So exact same image, it's loaded in twice, but we use a CSS effect called overlay, and it gives the image a little bit more of a oomph, it takes some dull images and gives them some life. So in that case, for the very first slide, here are your two images right here. So in previous videos, I've showed you how to change images. What I recommend you do is put your replacement images in the images folder. Make sure the image names, the file names you give them, all lowercase, no punctuation, and if you're going to have multiple words like full screen and slider, make sure you connect the words with a hyphen. Okay, do not have a space in your file name like so, or that will cause problems, as in some browsers cannot interpret spaces in file names and your image just simply won't show up. Right? Once your images are in here, then you can just basically take your image name right here and replace the full screen slider image right there and do the exact same for the one below it. Same image in both spots, please. And that's all there is to updating the image. The image size for your image slider, best if you go with a 16:9 ratio, and the default sizes we have are actually 1920 by 1080px. And you can go smaller than that. You can go 1600 by 900. You can go 1280 by 720, but no smaller. So 1280 by 720 would be about the smallest size I would go, but as long as they're all the same size. Now that's changing the image. If you want to add or remove a slide, you see how they're commented with an opening and a closing slide comment tag? What I recommend is kind of this thing here. This is what I do when I do an update, is I just find the carousel item and I sort of minify it. And I minify it and I minify it. And I don't know if you can do this in all your different versions of Dreamweaver, but the latest versions you can. So that tidies things up nicely. If you want to delete a slide, just select the two comments and all the code in between and delete it. Okay. If you want to add a slide, you can add a slide by simply copying and pasting an existing slide. However, do not add the first slide. Like, do not copy the first slide and paste it. The reason being, and I see this quite often, is when people copy and paste the first slide, this class of active is applied. The class of active is always applied to the first slide, but if we go down the page, you see where it says carousel item? There's no active class after that, because we have to tell the slider which slide we want to display first. And typically the first one is the one you want displayed first. So that's why that's there. But if you want to copy a slide, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, like I said, once again, just sort of minify everything. Take the last one, copy, paste. Okay. And then you just update the image and then you update the text. Now the text for the title, the description, and the button, it's all sort of highlighted here or spaced out. So it's fairly straightforward to just see what is there, read it, and change it. It's all the text there in white that you would change. Here is the link for the button if you want to link it to a page. If you want to get rid of any of it, you just select it and you delete it. Okay. When you're adding more slides, one other tip is up at the very top under the carousel indicators, we have 3 indicators. Indicators are the little buttons right down here, 1, 2, and 3. And in order to have more slides, you have to manually add the indicators and add them in a successive number. So we would just take one and copy paste like so and change the next indicator to number 3. That is if we added one more slide, which I just demonstrated I did. So that's how I go and change or add the indicator. And finally, I think the final piece of the puzzle here is we've got the timing, we have the content, we have the image, the social icons. Now these are just Font Awesome icons. So if you just typed in Font Awesome and went to the Font Awesome website, go to the icons, and let's say we want to change this one here to Pinterest. So we're just going to do a search on pin. If I can type pin, there we go. Now, any of the icons that show up in dark, like this one here, versus the one below it, which is a very, very light grayed out one, and when I hover over it, it says Pro. The dark ones we can use. The ones where you hover over, unless you're paying the $99 a year for the subscription, we don't use these. We only use these ones here. But if you have a Pro package, you can use whatever you want. But we just basically, that's the icon there. Click to copy, go back to your page, scroll down to the very bottom, and then we have a section here called Social Icons. If we were going to change Instagram to Pinterest, one of the things we have to do is change the icon right here. Okay, and there's the icon, icon, and icon. It's wrapped in an I tag. So basically we hover over and we change the icon first. Then you can change the message. You can change the link to whatever link you want it to be. And leave tooltip, leave the targeted blank. I mean, you can have it not be a targeted blank, but it's recommended. But definitely change the title, the follow us on Instagram, because that's where the nice little hover effect comes in when you hover over the icon. That's what that is, a tooltip.